Time Warp is using special new cameras to virtually bend time and to finally see what our eyes are missing. Our equipment makes the invisible visible. Engineer at MIT, I specialize in using the latest video techniques to create spectacular images and open up a whole new visual world. Today, we'll try to see Warp Lab. We are loaded with gear to help us slow down things that happen too fast for the human eye to see, or for normal cameras to pick up. This is the Edgerton Lab, where some of the most amazing early experiments were done to film things that are otherwise beyond human senses. In the old days, they used film, but now we can do even better with ultra-high-speed digital video cameras recording onto special hard drives. Normal video cameras shoot 30 pictures a second onto tape, and we miss a huge amount between each of these 30 pictures. We call these pictures frames. Between frames 2 and 3 on this shot, the Time Warp cameras capture more than 650 additional frames. Now we're going to reveal a world that has been locked in time.
Doing a little heavy-duty cleaning of the lens.
We can record at 20,000 frames a second.
I think we're good to go now.
Fire in the hole. 3, 2, 1.
Fast enough to capture a speeding bullet. And plenty fast enough to
Martin Waugh has spent years photographing one thing.
How's that? Focus first.
Water droplets. His still photography exposes a hidden world frozen in time. Absolutely familiar and so very strange. Martin has mastered, and how, the art of freezing images
Pretty close.
in time.
That's pretty close.
A lot of
Now he collaborates with our guys
And that's it.
right there.
to turn poetry into motion.
Seriously, no one walk for the next minute if you're within 5 feet of the table.
All Martin has to do is provide the water and some colored lights.
I think everything looks great.
I like it.
Okay. I'm going to present you your first high-speed video droplet.
Excellent.
There it is.
Yeah.
Small splash.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen this in my stuff. This is great.
So we can see the whole process. Let's
Yeah.
just put that right back to the beginning and check it out again.
The droplet digs out a crater, which forms a crown, or coronet. The crater acts like a spring stretching out. The surface tension of the water pulls it back and upwards into a column or jet. Now, Jeff and Martin prepare a pan with water only 1/16 of an inch deep. You would expect the crater and jet to be smaller because the water is shallow.
Get a little bit of a jet coming up, but not near so much as you do in the deep pool.
Right, because it really has to dig out a crater to
Right.
build up the momentum to
Yeah,
carry it back
exactly.
up.
Now, let's look at the two droplets side by side. The energy stored when the droplet falls into the deep pan results in a higher column.
My supposition has been that it's that the energy of the explosion is going outward, but the surface tension is stopping it, and so sort of running into this rim that's holding it in place, bunching up into waves.
I mean, it's worth saying that that's why these coronets happen.
Could two adults have more fun with a drop of water? How about more color?
So we have blue on the back side, and the red will be above. Any light or any flat surface, horizontal surface of the water, will see the blue.
Gotcha.
And the front side of the waves will be seeing the red.
Clearly, Jeff has met his soulmate.
I am launching said droplet.
Let her fly. Oh, look at that red stand out.
That helps
Yes.
so much.
Yes!
that's amazing.
Beautiful.
Look at that. It's a flower pattern.
Yeah, and the red standing out so well.
It really helps you get a sense of depth that we didn't have on the first shot.
Yeah, but this makes it really stand out.
That is one drop of water.
Yeah.
And it all pulls back up.
Right in the center, kaboom.
And a huge tower.
Equal and opposite reactions.
Yeah, right? Newton's laws never look this good.
Right.
If there was no surface tension, everything would just go infinitely outward.
Right.
You can write out the equations, but you're never going to expect that it's this beautiful.
Now say...
Okay, first drop. Coronet.
Takes a while.
Falls back. Up the spike comes.
Wow, they did it!
Every day, billions of people depend on water to live. They interact with it. It rains outside, and there's millions of drops hitting the ground. Every single one of them is doing this. And I think no one really gives that the attention that it deserves. That is unreal.
Okay, we're idiots. We thought this would be boring. It is not. It is art. It is science. It is amazing. Given our obsession on time warp with speed, it was only a matter of time before we revisited the classic, the hummingbird. Hummingbirds have always been a staple of high-speed photography, for good reason. They just look cool. But getting those shots is not easy, and when Time Warp turned our attentions to this little guy, well, let's start at the beginning.
All right, guys, I've got the high speed rolling, so all we need is a little feeding to go on here.
There we go.
Oh,
You got it.
Perfect.
Now this gets it down to the basics at 5,000 frames per second.
This is just beautiful footage to show us how the wing is rotating and how it's changing its camber or its curvature as it's moving during the downstroke versus flipping over during the upstroke.
You're looking at 40 time-warped wing beats per second.
Is that the tongue right there?
Yeah, that's the tongue that's sticking out of the tip of the bill, and that's what the bird uses to slosh the nectar back as it's drinking. One reason it needs to hold its head stationary is to be able to position the tongue in a very precise way to be able to obtain the nectar.
When we eat and move at the same time, we end up with a shirt full of mustard. To understand the hummingbird's trick for in-flight dining, we need to go inside again. But
let's blend a couple of strawberries.
Sounds good to me. That smells and looks pretty good.
It does.
You got all that?
Got it. Now, this is not going to end well for the strawberry.
Well, strawberries are...
our cameras captured the strawberry's demise at 10,000 frames per second.
Oh, it's a slicer and a
Look how many
dicer.
slices. That's 4, 5.
That's great.
6.
And there's the other one. Adding to the mix.
Oh, this is fun.
We know you've always asked yourself one burning question. Why, no matter what speed you run a blender, does some stuff just refuse to go down and get ground?
Problem is they run the blade too fast. Everything bounces off or doesn't pull the product down into the blade.
The slower speed.
Slower blade speed.
So now we can really see a comparison. Well, first hit.
That was perfect.
A little bit different.
That's why we have program cycles.
Yep.
Lets everything drop down in front of the blade.
Can it blend up a Molotov cocktail?
Now, you've done this before.
Oh, no.
Just to recap, we're going to take 7 containers of highly pressurized flammable gas, and we're going to blend them and hope that it explodes.
That's right.
Now, why are we going to do this?
It's never been done before. We're the first.
I'm convinced. It's a great reason. Safety
But there's a
glasses?
bigger question here. Will the blender container survive? And yes, this experiment defines the phrase, don't try this at home.
I'm all set.
And we do mean you.
3, 2, 1. Yes! All right, let's take a look.
Can't wait.
Liftoff.
Wow, so it comes right out of the bottom.
Oh, man. This is totally awesome.
Our slow motion footage reveals that the fire starts underneath as the escaping fuel hits hot metal in the motor.
There was a ton of butane spurting out the top, and it really takes that flame way up.
Wow.
Let's just see the right beginning of the flame again. Sure. I'm glad we moved back, because that's going 3 feet off the table.
Oh, yeah.
7 exploding lighters would bust most blenders apart, but this one is made of the same material used for bulletproof glass.
In the background underneath there, the blender is still
Blending away. Look at, oh, man.
How do you top a Molotov cocktail blender smoothie?
that good?
All right.
His eyes were open. Stayed over the whole time. And they actually crossed.
You went crazy immediately.
They do. They actually dilate for a second. That's interesting.
Let's check that out again.
Never seen that.
Our super slow-mo reveals Mark does keep his eyelids open, but with the jolt to his brain, he loses control of his eyeballs.
There's a frame where your nose is basically a letter C.
Yeah.
The punch snaps Mark's head so quickly that his nose gets left behind.
We're going frame by frame.
Yeah, we gotta go slow through this.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
I wouldn't even know who that was in this room at that frame. Wow, your ear, man.
This is great. This is the first time I get to hit you and not get hit back. Just don't hit me later, all right?
So how much softer than a normal?
Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, there's
my favorite balloons. It's just unbelievable, period.
There are so many things happening in this one clip. It's
Right
just
there.
amazing. Right, the first thing is that before the tear makes its way around this yellow part, you see the shockwave go through the balloon, right? So you see this bump form, and you see it travel right in front of the tear.
Right.
You know, just barely. But both of those things are going the speed of sound in that medium. So it's roughly, 2,000 feet per second that this is tearing apart. So we had to get this so fast to just see these different transitions happening. You can see, especially when it starts to bunch up, and there's not so much tension holding it flat, that those shockwaves really ripple out, and this forms many layers of shockwave.
That's pretty awesome. It's like a cartoon.
It's amazing.
The water's still sitting there, the balloons are gone.
Close to the density of a human torso after being rolled and soaked in water.
Perfect height.
Let's watch that lethal blow in slow-mo.
You wouldn't have seen that come until your head was gone. Then I'm not sure you can see anything. That's one continuous motion.
It just goes so against what people take for granted from seeing movies. You see movies and these fights go on for like 40 minutes.
This would not take long. This is not a sword fight. This is not a, this is over.
Bang, bang.
This is, my cousin Frankie used to say, 2 hits, me hitting you, you hitting the floor.